travel. I love to play guitar. I'm a computer hacker, I guess, not hacker, but I love to work with computers. I started working with computers in the 90s, and that led me into my first software job in the late 90s and into the 2000s. And I love discovering new things. I love discovering new technologies, new methods of doing anything and making it better than what it was before. I'm in New Jersey in the United States, and I started my journey, as I said, in computers in the 90s. And then I started working for software companies in the late 90s and then into the 2000s through the bubble, the burst of the bubble, the back up again. And I quickly became a very well-respected computer tech in my business and in my area. As a matter of fact, one of the reasons I left that business is they were firing people left and right. And it led me to know that what was happening was not just unique in my business, but it was happening around the country and around the world. And so that's kind of set me into what I'm doing now in my business. Well, you probably are aware of the coronavirus. I think everybody's been talking about it for the last month. They've said it about 1,000 times. My business is training people how to actually trade the stock market and work from home doing that, or even if they're at a job doing that. And it's more crucial now. My phone's been ringing off the hook now because people are forced to now work at home, and they're also concerned about being laid off. So the problem my business solves is, how do you replace that income once the problems start occurring with financial conditions like we're seeing right now? How do they make up that money? What's happening in businesses? So now I'm working closely with businesses and working closely with employees that are working from home, trying to make some extra money, again, concerned about being laid off from their jobs. I think we talked about a month ago when we did our first interview, and I mentioned that one of the problems my business solves is what happens if people get laid off. How do you solve that problem? And we're seeing it right now. And that is for the United States alone, it's a $2.7 trillion problem, because the median income is about $50,000 a year. And those are the people that are most at risk during this virus and all these furloughs and layoffs that are potentially going to happen. We hope they don't happen, but if they do, that's what we're here for. We're here to help them replace the income using the stock market. Because one of the most important things you're going to know and understand is Amazon's not going out of business. Neither is Apple, neither is Facebook. And a lot of employees that are working for them are going to feel the effect of this virus and what it's doing to them and their paychecks. And they're going to be displaced. And that's going to be a fact. It's not scary, but it's a good thing to understand, is that there's a company like us out there with real strategies that they can use to replace their income. Well, the number one problem we faced was not having the right information. When we first started off, I first started trading in 2006. And I thought, after taking one training, that I knew everything about the stock market. And coming to find out, that is not true. The stock market is many, many ups and downs and many, many little pieces of information that make all the difference in the world. They either lead to success or failure. So I was searching for those keys. And that's really the biggest piece that I had to learn from, is what are those keys? What are those pieces? And I know a lot of people out there that might be trading the stock market or have a 401k that they're concerned about right now. I know and have shared with people those methods of protecting their 401ks or their income. And that did not come easy. There was a lot of things I had to learn to get to that place so that I could actually use it for myself and also effectively share it. Well, when you're working for a company, if the company is viable, and I think most companies are, they start off with the right mission. When you're working for a company, you don't have to take on all the responsibilities that the leaders and the CEO of a company do. So it's different, and all you have to do is just do what you're told, do a good job, and you'll be okay. As an entrepreneur, it's a lot different. You have to wear many hats. You have to know what you're good at. You have to know what you're not good at. And you have to find the people that are good at what you're not good at and fill that role. Very, very important. So you're much more of a manager, even if you weren't a manager in a previous job. You're a manager and a negotiator, a marketer, all in one. You have to know everything about your business, but you can't be an expert at all pieces of your business. So knowing those things will actually really make a difference in your entrepreneurial journey. Well, number one thing is you have to know what you don't know, as I said before. You have to know what you're good at. You have to know what other people are good at and recognize what they're good at and get them into those roles. And that was one of the things, one of the reasons why I chose Designhill. You'll see later on some of the images of my logo and your logo, and the difference is night and day. So finding experts that are really good at what you're not good at and bringing them on your team, that is really one of the biggest challenges. And once you solve that, you'll be able to help people solve their problems, because business is ultimately about solving problems. And if you don't know how to do that in your own business, you're not going to do that for anybody else outside of your business. One business hack that I have specific for my business, specific for the stock market, is you want to really be aware of the financial news. You want to really be aware of what's happening financially in the company and in the country and around the world. If you know what's happening and you're aware of that, you're going to have a greater shot at understanding how you should place trades, how you should position your 401k, how you should position your own personal trades. That's a really big component of that. It took me a long time to realize that, because when I first started learning about trading the stock market, I learned a lot about indicators and things like that, but I didn't learn fundamental analysis like I know now. And it's a really big part of the market itself. I know this is affecting a lot of people right now as the market's crashing down to these levels they haven't seen since the 2008 crash. It's getting pretty serious, but everything's going to be okay. It's all going to work out. That's the other thing you have to remember about trading, is you have to be positive and look for your opportunities, because there will be opportunities. This market will turn around and we will get back to work. And when you understand that, it takes a lot of the pressure off of making trades and how long I should hold a position for and things like that, because those are big questions that people ask and need to have answered in this business, at least. In general, for entrepreneur, the biggest mistake, as I said before, this is one of the biggest ones, is knowing what you're good at and knowing what you're not good at. If you've ever seen some of these turnaround shows where Marcus Lemonis, for example, goes in on a TV show called The Profit, he goes into failing businesses and he turns them around and then becomes partners with those people. And one of the first things that he has to get around is the entrepreneur's willingness to accept change and to know what they're not good at, to listen to an expert, to listen to somebody who's been there, who's done it, so they don't have to keep making those same mistakes. And that is probably one of the biggest things that you can focus on, is being flexible. Don't think that you have to know it all, and be willing to change and be willing to learn. Those are really, really important things for an entrepreneur. Number one thing, success is pretty easy in business. I'm going to say that, it's kind of trite, but it's pretty easy when you follow the right steps. It's almost like a funnel, okay? When you follow the right steps, it'll lead you to success. The first step is you have to have a good product. And a good product is a product that people want, that's filling a need, a big need. And the way you would do that is, imagine you're in front of 1,000 people. You're in a room and there are 1,000 people sitting out in front of you, and you hold up your product or you state your idea and answer the question honestly. How many people would raise their hands and say, you know what, I want that product, or that's a good idea, I would use that service? And if 50%, 75% of the hands would honestly go up, then you have a good product, and that's your starting point. Or you have a good service, that's your starting point, and it's filling a need. That's really the key. And if you don't have a good product, and if you're not being honest with yourself, you're going to have a challenge succeeding in business. So how do you start off? Well, you have an idea. Do that step where you're looking at 1,000 people. And if you think the product is good or the service is good, go and find somebody who has that product, that industry, or that service, and go in and try to find somebody that you can interview and get some advice on. The market and business is not so cutthroat where they wouldn't give you some good advice if you asked nicely. They'll help you out, and they'll give you lots of advice on stumbling blocks along the way, what to avoid. You can also go to the internet and find some okay tips. You have to, again, always check your source. Make sure the people you're getting tips from are actually succeeding with the product or the service that you're trying to start as a business. Make sure they're already succeeding. Then ask those people for advice, and you're going to get some good advice. You're going to get some things that you haven't thought of, some key elements that are going to help you succeed in that business, or in that business with that product or service. It makes all the difference in the world.